Well, hello everybody, it's Dr. Drake 63 here again today down in my workshop. Today we're going to spend a little time taking down this 300 Blackout SBR that you have seen from me today. I took it out again shooting today, and it's almost not fun how accurate this thing is, especially using these Daniel Defense sights. I like them. They tend to sit kind of tall, and front sight, back sight, and you can't argue with the results. Open sight shooting at 50 yards, phenomenal, and got to give credit to this upper as well. But I haven't cleaned this thing in a while, probably been about 6 months, and I don't know how many hundred rounds I put in it since then. It's not like me, but we're gonna take this guy down and give it a good thorough cleaning and take a look at it, and look forward to seeing what kind of comments and cleaning techniques you guys use. Well, I don't need to use this today because I'm not going to work on any of my AKs. What we are going to do is take a look at this weapon. We'll do a quick function check, and everything's looking good. Pop out our pins. And there you have it. You can see right here the red in there. I don't know if you can see it or not. There you can. You can see that this is a drop-in trigger. I really like these. Not a big fan of AR mil-spec triggers, but here you have it. Here's my registered SBR lower, and we're going to spend the majority of our time cleaning this. So what we have here, so you can see we've got the Spikes M16 full auto bolt carrier group. The way you can tell it's full auto is if you look here, you'll see that it's an even cut, and it has the extra weight that's needed. Some other things you might want to think about when you are purchasing a bolt carrier group. You notice that these these are called properly staked gas tube, and that's what we're doing here. These are staked, which means that after these bolts are tightened to the proper tightness, then they're actually a tool you use to put an indentation straight through. So a little bit extra, which is good. And we don't have to argue about who makes the best bolt carrier groups. I think we all know. So right here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this pin down. That comes right out. Pull the pin out, and you can take a look at your firing pin right there. And now it's a matter of, if you see right here, this square piece right here, this is what holds your bolt in place. And when you turn it to that position, now you're able to simply just pull it out, which leaves pulling the bolt all the way out is no problem. Now, I had something on this earlier today that I've never had. I had a light primer strike, and it was a bad primer on some store-bought ammo. And it's the first time I've ever had this thing fail to eject. Had to give it a little bit of help. I suppose any firearm over a period of time, you can fall into prey of what is good, what is not. Never fails. Well, as long as you got good ammo, I'll leave it at that. But you can see this builds up some residue over time, and what we're going to do is scrub this down real good. I like to do first is just give everything a good wipe. And you can see how that black just comes off of that. That's the carbon. Believe it or not, when they first issued the M16 platform, they were not issued with cleaning kits. They were told these are rifles you don't need to clean, and many failures ensued in the early days with this platform. People now know you need to clean them, and you can see right there where you've got some of the brass building up. You want to always look at your extractor which is this right here. That's held in and powered by a spring, and what this does is grabs the rim and extracts it out every time. And that was the first thing I was wondering when I didn't get, had the fail to eject. Do I got an extractor problem? Extractor claw looks fine. Okay, so this is just a matter of cleaning this up real good. See too, with like this firing pin, it just takes nothing to restore that to pristine condition. Now this is one of the parts that I keep extras of. I've got a couple extra firing pins. And this that kind of holds the bolt in place. Same thing. Now what I will do is lube all of those guys up. Looking at the bolt group itself, same thing. Let's start by just wiping down, get the crud off, as they say. And you can see this is a nice one. If you notice, it is a chrome-lined bolt carrier, which means that it's going to resist corrosion. This is one of those parts that will corrode very easily. Another part that tends to get dirty is the charging handle. You know, as you can see, this travels up and down. So over time, deposits, no big deal. But what I want you to see is just how frickin' black this stuff gets. This isn't too bad this time around. As you can see, a little bit more residue built up towards the top there. Again, our goal is to get all of this garbage off of here. We're gonna re-lube it in a minute. As you can see, I'm not into these cowboy charging handles or any of that stuff. I am interested in a low profile firearm, which I basically have here. You're looking at the upper right now. And the first thing I'm going to do is run a bore snake through this. 30 caliber bore snake. You drop your end down, you turn it around, and you pull it right out. Now, this is not a chrome-lined barrel. Not worried about that, but you need to keep in mind it is not chrome-lined. It does need to be cleaned. The powder in this particular round tends to burn off in 8 to 9 inches. I got an 8.5 inch barrel. So you don't get a lot of residue. It's very, very clean. So mostly what you're wanting to do is guard against rust. And I do that by just running that bore snake through a couple more times with a little bit of CLP on it. CLP, you say. How do you do that, Dave? Well, I like to just put a few drops down on the bore, or on the part that goes through the bore, and all of about 8 inches worth. One of the things I do with that part I just showed you, and that is the part where basically this bolt head, freeze, fucking start over. Okay. One of the things I wanted to show you is right here. You can see this bolt head locks up with 7 different points, okay, and that goes right into that spot I showed you. Now, you can get a tool that is made for cleaning that. I like using this, and what I do is very gently rotate it around. I'm not going to lube this a lot. I'll put that on the bolt itself. But once I've done all this, keep in mind I have now put some additional gunk down that could go into the bore. So I will run the bore snake again through there. But in the meantime, I'm going to use a paper towel to clean that stuff out. Because I can take a paper towel and I can make a nice little shape that meets this channel. And there you go. We want to get all the gunk out of here. Some of these hard to reach places, you just got to get creative. Again, this is not necessary to clean a rifle to this extent in order to fire it safely, any of that. It's just, who knows when I'm going to fire this thing again. We'll go ahead and run that snake down one more time. One more time with the snake. And voila. So I consider this upper clean and ready to go. Needs a little bit of lube, which I tend to put on the moving parts that go into it. One other thing I like to do with this paper towel, I showed you that chrome lined area right there in the bolt carrier group. I like to go in once, give that a good turn. You can see there's some garbage in there. So what I will do an additional time is the same thing, only this time putting some CLP on it. Not a ton. What we're looking for here is a coating. And since I'm going to also do lubrication on the bolt group and things like that, it's not as big a deal. Okay. I don't know how well this comes through, but you see this carbon buildup there? What I found works best is to get some CLP on the paper towel and do some rotating for a while. Let's see if we can improve that. A little bit better. I mean, some of that's going to be on there. Now, another thing I like to do is take a little bit of CLP on that same brush, which of course we'll clean off to a degree, on the bolt face. Just a little bit. Not a ton. Does not take a ton. But just enough. I want to get some of that brass worked loose. And I'm not expecting tremendous results from that other than to kind of clean some of that off. And I know I consider myself an AK guy to a degree, and right now there's AK guys saying, you don't have to do that on an AK. Well, you do if you want it to function at its best. So we'll just leave it at that. So what else do we do? We're putting it back together. I like to run some lube, not a lot, down the channel of this charging handle. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to put the bolt back in there, and I want to give that just a little bit more lube, not a ton. Some guys like to run these super wet. I like to clean them more often. To me, wet means that you're going to end up with situations possibly where it attracts more carbon buildup. So there is that. And we've got that properly reinstalled. We drop our pin back in, like so. Now we need to reinsert that cotter pin. And there she is. Okay. Now, when I think about lubricating this within the scope of where it's operating, I want to lubricate the points where it comes into contact with other metal. Okay. So the whole thought of, oh, I need to have all of this properly and totally lubed is really not true. What you need lubed is where metal contacts metal or where metal needs to be protected from corrosion. Okay. So as we reinstall this, we're going to drop our charging handle back in. I'm going to add a little bit of lube down where that travels, so you can see that. And then we're going to drop our bolt group back in. And there you have it. We've cleaned that upper. As far as the lower goes, I mean, you can wipe it down. There's really no carbon buildup in there. This is where I like to do an inspection and make sure I don't have strange wear on either the hammer, on the buffer tube, where the buffer tube screws into the receiver, all of those kind of things. But as you can see, not much, if any, dirty in there. I mean, it stays pretty clean. So there is that. And again, why do we love ARs? Because just like that, it's raring to go. So here you have it. This particular SBR is clean. I feel safe having this in my safe for, you know, probably over a year. And it would come out ready to fire. But I don't think I can make it a year without firing it. That is one dirty brush. So if anybody's wondering, how dirty does your AR get? Well, a little bit. One thing I wanted to point out, and this is a subject, I think, for another video altogether, but I just want to point this out. Everybody's always comparing these two rounds. 7.62 by 39 on the left, 5.56 by 45 on the right. Okay, M16, AK-47. First thing we need to understand, guys, is that, at least in terms of the enemy that we trained to fight against, they don't even use the 7.62 anymore. They use this, which is the 5.45 by 39. And that's the bullet, that's the food that the AK-74 eats. Now you probably should compare these two in terms of range, effective range, ballistics, and the fact that the 5.56, the M16 bullet, which was designed to do its damage by tumbling, gets out-tumbled and is much more lethal round through the 5.45, and it mimics the distance there. So first of all, guys, that's the comparison we ought to be talking about. If you want to talk about a 30 caliber AK, great. Then we can talk about this 30 caliber AR that I have, which is 300 Blackout, and we need to compare these two. So like I said, that's a video for a different day, but it's just the biggest false equivalency I've ever seen. I see people get into the most retarded arguments on Facebook about this stuff and elsewhere. And it's like I said, you want to compare bullets? Compare bullets. This one should get compared to this one. Intermediate range, 30 caliber. This one should get compared to this one. Intermediate cartridge, effective range, 400 meters. Okay? So we need to stop with the nonsense. Like I said, that's another day. But here we have, other than just wiping a few fingerprints down, here we have a very clean short-barreled rifle that is ready to have some fun. And as always, I am when I get to go shooting. I want to thank you once again for joining me here in the man cave, if you will, the dungeon of fun. This is Dr. Drake 63. I hope this video helped somebody today. This is Dr. Drake 63 saying goodbye.